Apple. Why you gotta be like this? All right? You gave me what I wanted, all right? I was so pumped way back in June, way back at Quadruple UDC when you showcased macOS Monterey. I couldn't be more excited. Well, I could have been. You probably could have, done something more than just universal control and AirPlay. But frankly, I have macOS Monterey on 2 Macs now, and I don't really notice. I changed my wallpapers, so there's not even really an easy way of detecting that difference. But frankly, universal control was a great idea. Should have been implemented a long time ago. Probably stolen by a third party or something, because I've seen third-party applications demo features like that in the past. And you know what? You still don't have it out. You said to expect it later this fall, and fall's almost over, Apple, and it so far is not present in most of the betas. So I just keep on waiting. I keep on waiting and waiting for universal control. It would simplify so much, because I don't want to mess around with unpairing my freaking Magic Mouse 2 here from my iMac Pro, because I know it's going to be the most annoying thing ever if I want to connect it to the iMac again. So I would like to permanently be able to still control my iMac Pro when I need to, because I'm treating it like a YouTube TV right now. It just sits there and plays videos. And I want to also use the Magic Mouse with my MacBook Pro and control both. I don't want to get a second mouse. That's too much money. Maybe Apple knows this. Maybe Apple knows they would rather you have separate mice, or they would rather you buy a Magic Keyboard case. But essentially, as soon as universal control was a thing and they unveiled that, I was like, I don't need the Magic Keyboard case anymore. But now it sounds like they can't freaking get universal control to work. Good evening, Mike. How are you doing? It was announced quietly to be delayed to spring. Why? Why is it so complicated? My buddy Nick, he has this feature in one of the betas where they introduced it, and they took it away very quickly. Okay, nice name. Thank you for the super chat. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that. But thank you for the surprise. I see your messages. Throw that Magic Mouse out the window. Literally returned mine's the week of using it for my iPad Pro. I love the Magic Mouse, and so does my dad, okay? I'm not crazy. It runs in the family, at least. The apple sheep doesn't fall far from the tree, I guess. But yeah, I really do appreciate the way the mouse works. I love side-scrolling in Final Cut with it, which I do quite a bit, and I can use it for hours and hours and hours, and my hand never gets cramped or it never feels uncomfortable or anything. I've just been using the trackpad. I've tried Logitech, I've tried Flow, I've tried MX Master. I can't find anything else that does what I want as good as the Magic Mouse does, which is a shame, because the Magic Mouse sucks. I know. It sucks, but I love it. What I mean by it sucks is it uses lightning and you can't use it while it's charging. But end of the day, just that slick, smooth, easy to scroll up, easy to scroll side to side. And what's key about the Magic Mouse versus the trackpad is that I can move the mouse as I'm scrolling side to side. I can move the Magic Mouse while scrolling side to side, which I can't do with the trackpad. You're either moving your mouse or you're scrolling. It's kind of hard to, I don't think it's possible to do both. Yeah, because as soon as you're doing 2 fingers on the trackpad, it's like, oh, wait, that means he wants to scroll. I'm going to bet the beta has no issues with the universal control. But why? Yeah, I'm streaming over my hotspot. I want to see if that is any better. At least the trackpad is good. You're right, James. It is a decent trackpad. It's not terrible. Did Apple ever release the erase and restore button on macOS? That was going to be nice, but I don't see it anywhere. Really? Okay, everything I love about macOS Monterey doesn't exist. I think that's what we're slowly starting to realize. I correct me if I'm wrong, but back in that video, the 3 things I was super pumped for, I think, with macOS Monterey was universal control, the factory restore, and the AirPlay thing, which I actually used for the first time yesterday. I was like watching a YouTube video on my MacBook, and I was like, I think my iMac Pro should support AirPlay, so I want to edit something on here. Why don't I just cast it to the iMac like it's a TV? And that worked. So I was like, I mean, it's not a very high resolution. I was watching the Waveform podcast, which I'm sure you can watch it higher than 720p, but because it's AirPlay or whatever, it was like capped. The resolution wasn't very good. So I don't get it. Sorry, I should get a tissue before I started. Oh, I guess I could move around. You can technically hack the system to get universal control working on macOS. That means macOS is ready, just that iPadOS part isn't. Of course! iPad is the limiting factor once again. Come on, Apple. You can't even get a freaking calculator app. Now you can't get the mouse working. I don't understand why this feature is so complicated. Erase and install is in Monterey in the menu bar of the System Preferences application. Where? Hold on. Oh, yeah, you're right. I found it. Okay, we're good. Yeah, if you go to System Preferences and then just tap System Preferences in the menu bar, it says Erase all content and settings. Let me tap that right now. Let's see what happens. You're one of my favorite tech YouTubers alongside MKBHD. What a lie. Don't say that. Come on. No one shines a light to MKBHD, let's be honest. I update in the Everyday Dad. Those are good too. Recently started a seasonal position at Apple in North Carolina. It's a dream come true. It gets crazy in there. Wow. Seasonal position. How does that work? They just hire you occasionally? AirPlay to Mac is nice, but if you have multiple displays, it blanks out your second displays. Oh, really? That's really dumb. Why would it black out the second? Yeah, maybe AirPlay doesn't know what to do when you have multiple monitors or something. They need more software devs at iPadOS. Yeah, I'm convinced they have like 2 people on the iPadOS dev team, and that's it. I have the same blackout curtains as you. Quite epic, I must say. How do you know what kind of curtains I have? Oh, the door's open. I forgot. Yeah, I can stream with the door open today. I can get really loud because my wife is at a recital tonight, so I got the place to myself. Hey, Michael. Hello from Winnipeg. Apple should make the System Preferences app the same as the Settings app. The Settings app is so much better. Wait, what? Settings versus System Preferences? Is there a difference on Mac? Do you think micro LED will make its way to the iPhone 14s? No, I don't. Oh my God. What is this super chat for? Do you really want me to try to pronounce? I don't have any idea of how to pronounce that, but geez. Incredibly generous super chat. Thank you for that. Merry Christmas to you. Oh my God. $49.99. That's amazing. And Merry Christmas to Google, who gets a portion of that, and Merry Christmas to Apple, who gets a portion of that. I get like 3 cents by the end of all the cuts. That's what happens. Apple should make... Yeah, oh, sorry, I read that. I think most definitely what's delaying universal control is probably just the speed of the mouse transfer from Mac to iPad. It has to use some type of low latency and low energy Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. If you had a prototype of it in June, and you had it in a beta, which Mr. Nick Answeeney can use currently with his Mac and iPad, that was months ago. What are you waiting for? Are you hoping to send out a software update that like fixes the low latency and low energy usage of Bluetooth and Wi-Fi? Like what? Is there a magic switch they're hoping just suddenly gets discovered? Like I don't get it. That was an incredibly generous super chat. I'm sorry. I don't know why he did that. Oh man. At the LastPass holidays into late February, there were like 30 employees hired alongside me, so it'll be super competitive to become permanent, but hopefully I get it. Oh, I see. Like 30 employees. So it's a competitive position. Nice. Well, tell them that you watch MKBHD so you know what you're talking about. What is it with all these long names? I wish that you could connect your iPad to your Mac more easily because it seems to on my internet that the mouse sometimes gets a little bit laggy. That's probably, I mean, if it's laggy now, I just don't understand what they're expecting to change. In which case, I would have rather them just not announce it in the first place. Like, don't get my hopes up. What new technologies do you suspect will make it to the iPad Pro line, and what do you think of blooming effect on mini LED displays? I don't notice it or think it's that big a deal. I think that you have to watch very specific videos for mini LED to be noticeable. I've watched a lot of movies and TV shows at high dynamic range on my MacBook Pro on our last anniversary trip. I think the only way to notice blooming is if you're like intentionally looking for it. Like you're in a dark room and you're playing those videos with HDR tests of like, if I put a white box and it moves in this corner of the display in this orientation, I notice. Even when I did that, I had a hard time noticing the blooming. I noticed it a little bit more on the iPad Pro around the edges. It kind of faded the light out just a tiny bit, but It wasn't like, this makes the iPad unusable. The brightness is not at 100% for these last 3 pixels on the end. It was like minor. And I don't notice the dimming on the mini LED on the MacBook. The display brightness is like full on every pixel. I don't notice it. Is Universal Control the new AirPower? It feels like it. I enjoyed watching your videos, thus I gave you a nice donation. Wow, it still doesn't make sense. Are you going to see Spider-Man? Yes, I will eventually. Yes. Please don't spoil it in the chat, please. If Apple made a 12-inch MacBook with an M1 chip, would you buy it? I don't have any need for it, but I still want them to. I think that would be great. I actually think that's what the new M2 MacBook Air is likely going to be, because it's supposed to be a design overhaul where it gets even somehow thinner, because that's the biggest complaint, right, with the M1 MacBook Air. Everyone's like, it's just so thick, it's so bulky. They want to make one even thinner than that, and probably with thinner bezels than the current MacBook Air. So I expect the footprint of the redesigned MacBook Air to be fairly similar to that of the 12-inch MacBook. And if you start doing those, then you could basically have what you pitched. M1 chip inside a 12-inch MacBook. Except people say 12-inch MacBook because they're referring to the light form factor. But the truth is, the bezels were quite thick on the 12-inch MacBook. Whereas if you got the bezels down to as thin as they are on the new MacBook Pros, you could probably stuff a 13-inch MacBook in the same footprint. I want a bigger iMac, but not a Pro. You think going to happen? What do you have against the Pro is my question. Like, is it just the terminology? You just don't want it to be called Pro? Or what do you expect out of a bigger iMac? Like, do you want a 27-inch iMac or a 30-inch iMac, but it looks exactly the same as the 24-inch iMac with white bezels and a chin in the M1 chip? Like, what is it? Do you like the 24-inch iMac design and aesthetic, but you just want it to be physically larger? The price. Well, the price has got to go up regardless. If everything rumored is like, okay, you want specs better than the 24-inch iMac, right? You want a higher refresh rate. You want mini LED. You want faster CPU and GPU speeds. All of that stuff is now branded into the Pro moniker. You know, they're not gonna call it M1 Pro and then put it into a non-Pro device. I don't think that makes much sense. So, I think they may call it Pro, but I don't think that necessarily means it's going to cost as much as the first iMac Pro. I don't think it's going to start at $5,000. I think it's going to start at $2,000, which is basically what the current 27-inch iMac starts at. So, what Pro pricing are you afraid of? Like, it's not, obviously they're not going to make an iMac better and bigger than the 24-inch one that's the same price. It's got to be more expensive than that. Do you want Apple to read your mind? Yes, that would be great. But they don't have to. You don't have to read my mind. I speak my mind pretty freely online anyway. There's not much I'm secretly holding back. No, I actively am always preaching exactly what I wish Apple would do. Fix AirPods Max, please, because I would really, really like a pair of over-ear headphones made by Apple with that design language. I dig that design, but I want USB-C, and I want a better case than what they came up with. Which iPad do you recommend? After looking at the entire website of all the iPads out there, I have to say, at the end of the day, most people already know what I'm going to say. That rhymed, oh my god. Certified refurbished 2018 iPad Pro 11-inch. Oh my god, I'm looking at it right now. These deals, these are so freaking good. Oh my god. $519 for an 11-inch iPad Pro. Look at that. Face ID, 120 hertz, USB-C, A12X chip, still plenty fast. Frankly, there's nothing in iPad OS that makes that big a difference between the M1 chip and the A12X. So, I said this on the podcast today, but in case you missed it, if something goes wrong with my current iPad Pro and I just need to replace it, it's not like I'm upgrading, it's just I lose it. If the fact that that's still cheaper than the iPad Air, I would just say best bang for your buck. That's an incredible deal. And I'm sure that iPad will last you 7-8 years easy. Isn't Sidecar the same broadcast function with mouse as universal control? I wouldn't be shocked. It sounds right. Do you think jet black will be the flagship color for the 14 Pro next year? If not, what do you think will be the flagship color? I was really disappointed with this year's colors. Like, I was hoping they were going to do a matte black or mix it up a little bit, but it seems like with the Pro iPhones, they love just doing these muted midnight colors. They did midnight green, and then they did Pacific blue, and then they did Sierra blue. Some people like those lighter shades. It's just not me. I'm not into that. So I wish if I was in control, I would, if I had universal control, I would suggest just a matte black. I don't think jet black is necessary. I think Apple likes the frosted glass back of the 13 series. They have the 13 Pro series and 12 Pro series. Like, they like that matte finish. Although if it ends up being true that they switch to a titanium chassis, Apple seems to have this fundamental problem with having a matte back and matte sides. It's either glossy sides with a matte back, and or a glossy back with matte sides, like you have on the regular 13 and 13 mini. So I was hoping Apple could go somewhere in the middle and just, can you make a phone that doesn't get fingerprints on the side or the back? Who knows? Maybe because Apple has that fundamental limitation, we'll have a titanium chassis and then they'll go with a glossy back and we'll have jet black again. I don't know. I want product red too, but something Apple iDesigner did. Let me see if I can find it. It was really good. Apple iDesigner. I don't know if you guys remember this, but Iron Man iPhone. Basically, it was more possible. So obviously, there's been all kinds of concepts of product red stainless steel iPhone, right? We all want like that hot red steel all the way around and then a red matte back. That would be really, really cool. But I think the primary reason I've heard they don't do very saturated colors on the steel iPhones, they always do graphite, silver, and gold. They do kind of muted colors. I can't find the concept art. It's out there somewhere. But basically, that's why they can't do product red steel. So Apple iDesigner came out with this concept of you do gold for the steel chassis, and then you do red for the matte back. And he did that once, and I don't know what happened to the picture. I need to find it. It was a long time ago, but it looked so good. Oh my God. Like, the rings of the camera lens were gold, but then all the glass was red. It was such a perfect color combo. It was the Iron Man color palette, which I loved. Let's see. Let's get another blue, please. Oh my God. How many blues can we possibly get at this point? 2021 iPad mini is best. Changed my mind. 60 hertz. That's enough to turn me away. Let's see. Do you think the next iPad mini will have Face ID at 120 hertz? So far, Apple has never brought 120 hertz to a non-Pro product. I would love it if that started changing. If anything, the iPhone 14 series would probably be the time to change it, just because the rest of the smartphone industry has kind of turned 120 hertz into a pretty standard thing. Like, even non-premium phones have 120 hertz now. So if Apple just wanted to catch up with their own models, maybe the iPhone 14 could be the first. But as far as the iPad lineup goes, the thing is, the iPad Pros are really hard to justify already. Like, I think they're pointless. I think you should be buying 2018 or 2020 iPad Pros refurbished. I don't think anyone really can justify spending $1,000+ on an iPad at this point. So because of that, I don't think the next iPad mini will have Face ID in 120 hertz. But I guess, what can it have if it can't have that? Other than like a spec boost, I guess. They could throw in a new chip at some point. But yeah, there's not really much else they can do. Maybe what we really need, honestly, at the end of the day, we need an iPad Pro mini. Just next time we do an iPad Pro update, whether it's in a keynote or a site refresh, Apple should, update the 12.9 inch, update the 11 inch, and also provide 8.3 inch 120 hertz Face ID version of the iPad. I bet that would be really nice. That would be dope. There can be enough blue. Let's see. Did YouTube address why they removed auto dark mode for iOS? No, I doubt it. Just leave dark mode on all the time. Come on. Who wants YouTube light mode anyway? I thought it was weird that the M1 chip still lasts 10 hours on iPad. I expected longer. I think it's like the Apple Watch. It's one of those things where they're just like, nah, all iPads will all forever have the same battery life and it will never improve. Apple should let you use your phone as a mouse for your Mac first party. I don't know if you'd like that. Like the texture of the trackpad is not the same as the texture of the glass on your phone, unless you're talking about converting the back matte glass into. It's weird. I don't think that would be good to have your screen face down. Can you draw with first gen Apple Pencil on a USB-C iPad Pro? No, because the only way to connect the first gen Pencil is with Lightning. So if the iPad doesn't have Lightning, there's no way to connect it. My biggest problem with the iPad currently outside of the software is the battery life. How does the MacBook Air get close to 20 hours, but the iPad has been stuck at 10 since the first generation? I'll tell you, because the iPad is got to be this thin tablet, and it cannot store any components or any electronics into the keyboard because the keyboard is optional. So iPads have to work independently from keyboards and trackpads, whereas a MacBook, you have all this extra space to work with. Your display can just be a display, and then with the wedge design, you can fill that up with batteries. So overall, MacBook Air is still thicker than an iPad. So they overall more thickness, more battery. That's how it works. Um, I'm wondering how that's going to work with the M2 though, because it's supposed to be getting even thinner. I'm not sure how much thinner the MacBook Air can get, but um, YouTube can remove. Why do they remove things ever? Like it's always something that everyone appreciates. Like, man, I love that YouTube has this, and they're like, get rid of that. Why? People like it too much. Take it away. You can use as a phone as an Apple TV trackpad. Yeah, that's different. Honestly, how many people do that? Secondly, you don't need very much precision at all. Yeah. Will the iPad be? Will the iPad Pro be refreshed in the spring or the fall? Let's see. We got new Pros in the spring last year. Typically, Apple likes to wait between 13 and 18 months for iPad Pro refreshes. So if I were a betting man, I would bet I would bet the fall. I don't think we're going to get new iPad Pros that soon. They're already so overkill. They've already got mini LED. They've already got M1 chip. What more can you put in that thing? Once you start putting more hardware in that crap, it's just going to become even more pointless given iPad OS can't do anything useful with the hardware. So like what we're here wireless charging. Wow. Okay, great. I'm going to slap my big MagSafe puck on the back of my iPad even though it's got a folio cover all over it. Um let's see. I didn't catch your reasoning on why they can't have a camera that's has hole punched out just like they do on the Samsung phones on the MacBook Pro, so we don't have a notch. Um, I don't think I ever provided reasoning other than I think in the past I've argued that they likely want to turn the notch into more stuff. Right now you have your ambient light sensor and you've got a room. What's it called? Maybe that was it. The indicator light. Yeah, you've got the webcam indicator light. You've got the webcam itself, and then you've got the ambient light sensor that kind of color matches for true tone and that kind of stuff. So you couldn't shrink all of that down into a punch hole. Secondly, looking at the webcam right now, is there an easy way for me to show you guys this? Let me try. It doesn't work very well. I can't see. Never mind. That doesn't work. Either way, the way the webcam is currently set up, if you wanted to make it a punch hole, you would have to push it further down into the screen because it's not like completely like if you erased all of the notch except for the webcam, it would still be touching the top bezel. So you'd have to push it closer inward. And also in the future, if they want to add Face ID, you would rather the notch not change at all, right? You would rather the notch stay the same size, except now it has a biometric in it, instead of start with the punch hole really small, and then later on you add Face ID, so you got to make it way bigger. So I'm sure there is some crazy display thing they could have worked out, but I don't know if mini LED is very good at that. I think punch hole cameras work a lot better with OLED displays. I don't know if they work that well with mini LED. I think the notch is largely an exercise in branding on the latest laptops. I don't think that's the primary reason. I think they realized that they could get the top bezel a lot thinner if they just provided a little cutout. Thank you, Mr. Dark. Thank you for the super chat. That was nice of you. How much difference does the RAM increase make on the newer iPad Pros? In my experience, very little. And from Nick's experience as well. Nick is a guy who spent, nearly $2,000 on his iPad setup, and he said the difference between 4 gigs of RAM and 6 gigs of RAM on an iPad is extremely marginal. It's going to be very hard to tell the difference. Maybe some people disagree with me. Feel free to let me know. It's probably like a gaming argument. It's like, well, I open a game and then I open 5 other applications and then I go back to that app and the game has to reload. It's like, okay, maybe for that one use case, the extra RAM is slightly more helpful. But I've been using the same iPad Pro for over 3 years now, and it still shocks me. I will still open an old app on it, and I'm like, wow, this is still open? Like, I don't run into, oh, dang it, this app. And the thing is, the A12X chip is still so capable. Even if the app does have to reopen, it opens so fast. It's not, I don't understand why people act like it's this big deal breaker. Oh, no, the app has to open all over again. It's like, most apps don't take that long. Again, maybe if you do a lot of gaming, it makes gives you a slight advantage. But I would not say it's worth $200 to upgrade just for extra RAM. I hope the MacBook Air has a white notch. The outrage will be hilarious. I hope you find it funny, but I won't. I consider the white notch a serious issue because that's the only notch you can't get rid of. You can't erase it through the UI. The notch will even be noticeable when the display is off. So no, thank you. I don't think the white notch is going to happen. I'll be honest. I can't wait for an 11-inch iPad Pro with mini LED. I just hope my current keyboard case will still work. It probably will. Honestly, I used the iPad Pro with mini LED, and then I went back to my iPad Pro without it. I think mini LED it's noticeable, but it's more noticeable in side-by-sides than it is in day-to-day use. Like, I know some people feel this way about refresh rate, but I I notice refresh rate even when I'm not doing side-by-sides. Like, I'll just pick up my wife's phone and be like, ugh! Or I'll just use my iMac Pro, and I'm like, ugh, gross. 60 hertz. Disgusting! Everyone wants to know where Playgrounds 4 is, but keep in mind, that would require the iPad OS team to do work, which is not possible. iPad Air 2 still runs fine with 2 gigs of RAM. See, that's how I kind of feel about it, is like, I think people over-exaggerate. RAM in general, I think people over-exaggerate the need for. I don't think a lot of people understand what RAM is. They're like, oh, the RAM makes it faster, right? It's like, no. It's just about how many things you can do simultaneously. And honestly, most people are not doing that many things on an iPad simultaneously because you can only run 2 applications on screen at once. You have to switch between. Is there a white notch rumor? Yeah, I think someone was suggesting it. I can't remember who it was, but they were claiming it would be white. Why do people like Face ID? It's horrible. I just want no Face ID on my phone. I just want Touch ID in the power button. I'm sorry you haven't had a good experience with it. For me, it's been fantastic. I've had way better luck with Face ID than Touch ID. We should run a poll. We've got time. Let's run a poll. What's the better biometric? Let's see. I know what I'm voting. I'm going to not change the options. What's the better biometric? Yes or no? Let's see what everyone says. Okay. Let's see. Yes, the $5,000 Pro Display bugs me because it's not 120 hertz. What about a gray notch? No, I'd say the only notch that makes sense in my view is a notch that matches the color of pixels when they're off. I love that I can't see the notch on the laptop when the display shuts off, or when you're full screening an app, and the pixels go off, because none of the content I've ever watched on my MacBook Pro takes up the aspect ratio because it's like 16 by 10 point something. People are saving, give us both. I like the options. Well, there's not an iPhone that has both right now. There's actually not a single device that has both. So look at that. Most people are preferring Face ID thus far. Yeah, they're both fine. Like, I use Touch ID on my MacBook. It gets the job done. I'm just saying, if I could only choose one biometric to have on a device, I would rather have Face ID. Certainly. It's not like Touch ID sucks. It's back when I had really bad psoriasis, Touch ID was very frustrating. I couldn't use the biometric on my phone at all. I had to use the passcode every single time. Okay, Ghosted says, Face ID, at first I hated it, now I love it, especially when I can unlock it with a mask with my Apple Watch. That certainly fixed a lot of my complaints because I was very frustrated, like, Face ID didn't work every time I had a mask on. And I was like, okay, Apple, maybe Touch ID is not such a bad idea at this point. But then they rolled out the Apple Watch update, and I was like, oh, well, we should have just been doing this all along. Please? I think that Face ID is better and Touch ID is unergonomic, especially on the iPad Air 4 when using a keyboard case or case with stand since you have to reach up. Yeah, I guess I never reviewed Touch ID with an iPad on a keyboard case. I always thought that felt a little bit clunky. I found myself not hating it very much on the iPad mini, but I didn't even buy a smart cover for my iPad mini. I just used it as is, like just how it was out of the box, and it didn't use I didn't use a keyboard case with it. So maybe when you're just holding it and the iPad is that small, using a Touch ID sensor and the power button isn't so bad. But maybe if you're using it with a keyboard case like the people were on the iPad Air, that's a bigger issue. I don't know. Oh, hey. Wow, we got another super chat. What are all the super chats today for? What did I do? Thank you. MC Rich 23 says Apple is probably working on the file share function with universal control. Why is that so complicated? I don't get it. I mean, there's been third parties that have made applications that do this. I'm confused as to why it's taken this long. If you were willing to like brag about it on stage way back in June and you were like, yeah, coming later, and now it's like, maybe not till February. It's like, what hasn't been figured out? Is Apple currently working on their own cellular network? I saw some job postings on their website that seemed interesting. I don't think they are, but I would not. I think it's a great idea. I think I did a video on it a while back of like industries I want Apple to get into, and I think making their own cellular network would make the most sense. I mean, it would not help all the antitrust cases. All the government's like, Apple, you're successful. You should stop that. That's bad. This would not help with that. But I do think from the end user experience, it would simplify and clean up a lot of things because it's already this headache of let me activate through the carrier, then I gotta sign in through T-Mobile, then I gotta sign in through this, and then get everything set up with the SIMs. Apple would probably do it all via eSIM, and because it's only available for iPhones, it would not be a carrier you could use on Android. Then Apple would give you really competitive rates that would probably be better than most of the major carriers. And there's already what are they called? Is it MVNOs? Basically, like cell companies like Mint Mobile that take they basically take your they piggyback off of the pre-existing network and they can use those towers. Apple could do the exact same thing as those little sub companies do, and probably make a pretty capable network with really low prices that would integrate great with the Apple Card, 3% back on all your Apple cellular services. I think it would tie along perfectly with their best-selling product. The iPhone's their bread and butter, so why wouldn't you capitalize on the one service that's practically mandatory with every single... No, they want to focus on TV Plus and Arcade and News Plus. It's like, yeah, why not? Someone in my family wants AirPods for Christmas, but I'm not sure which one to get. Any suggestions for a first-time AirPod user? If they're a first-time AirPod user, they'll probably be fine with AirPods 2, I'll be honest with you. I still like AirPods 2. Like, I don't think there's that much wrong with them. I feel like AirPods 3 only really matter to people in the tech community. It's like, oh, yes, the mids. Haha. It's like, I don't think the average person would care. So, I mean, when you're buying Christmas gifts, it's a psychological debate because if you buy something too nice, then the other person feels like they have to get something of equal value to compensate. And usually there's pretty good deals going around on AirPods too. I'm checking right now on Amazon. I thought I saw some really cheap ones. And they're not that cheap. There's actually on Amazon right now, you can get AirPods 3 for $140. That's pretty good. It's kind of funny how that worked. Because I remember when AirPods 3 came out, people were like, okay, it's $170 or whatever. It's $180, but on Amazon you can get AirPods Pro, which are way better, and it's only $10 more. It's basically the same price as AirPods 3. Just get that. It's like, well, while AirPods Pro are cheaper, now AirPods 3 are also on Amazon for cheaper, so the price gap actually just evens out. Obviously, if you want active noise cancellation, get AirPods Pro, but they have AirPods Pro for $180 on Amazon, which is a pretty freaking good deal, I would say. But I actually don't see AirPods 2 anywhere. Did 9 to 5 Toy... This is another good account. If you're looking for discounts on tech products, this is not sponsored. They're not asking me to say this or anything. I've discovered it myself. But if you follow the Twitter account 9 to 5 Toys, they usually are promoting any kind of like sales they find. Let me see. I thought I saw somewhere they were selling AirPods 2 for $100. And I was like, that's a pretty good deal. Or as close to $100 at least. I'm scrolling. I can't find it. They tweet a lot. Here's a chair. I don't need that. I got a $30 gift card from Apple with AirPods 3. Oh, that's cool. It's like, come back soon when these break. eSIM, ew, I haven't bought a branded phone in years. I take the SIM out of one Android, put it in another, and keep trucking. You're welcome to keep doing that. I mean, I do that, but I just feel like if Apple did eSIM, they would probably do it better than anybody. Would it be like Google Fi? Basically, yeah. It's the same kind of concept, except better, and it wouldn't be killed off so quickly. Best battery on AirPods 3? Yeah. I guess the battery's better, but costs more too. Best battery on AirPods Max. Is an Apple Watch SE a good idea right now? I would mainly use it for running and making calls and stuff. If a product has been around for a while, I always just say try to find a sale, because if a product is not just come out, there's likely a refurbished option. There's likely a discounted option at Best Buy or Amazon or somewhere. So if it's like the Apple Watch SE is a good example because it's not really new. It's been out for like a year, and Apple hasn't changed their pricing. So yeah, I'd say it's fine to get an Apple Watch SE now. Just try to find one not full price if possible. Got over the iMac chin yet? Nope, still hate it. Still ugly. Why does unlock with Apple Watch work on iPhone and Mac but not my iPad? Again, that would require the iPadOS team to do some work. And apparently there's only one intern that's in charge of all of iPadOS, considering I thought iPadOS 15 should have been the main focus of Quadruple UDC this year, and instead all they did was get features from last year's iOS. And they added some dots to the top. Will Apple have in-person events again? Hot take, I don't think so. I think even if the pandemic went away, first of all, there will be another strain that pops up. But even if the pandemic went away, I think Apple likes the control, and they like the cinematography, and they like the vibe they can, the insane camera views that they can get with CGI and all the time and energy they put into those events. I think they like it a lot, and I don't think they'll go back to in-person. I know. You're welcome to disagree with me, but I'm just throwing that out there. That's my prediction. Let's see. People said, I forgot you switched to Mint. Do you still like it? Yeah, I just hit my over 2-year mark. I've been on Mint Mobile for over 2 years now. It's been great. I've loved it. It's very affordable, very cheap, and again, it's very hard to recommend cell phone carriers because everyone's use cases is different, and of course, everyone lives in different places. So if you live in a place where you don't have good T-Mobile coverage, obviously Mint Mobile's not going to be good for you. If you plan on using a cellular plan with your iPad or your Apple Watch, Mint Mobile doesn't offer that. That's one thing I wish they had. It would be kind of nice if I could activate the cell plan in my watch occasionally, or honestly, I'd rather hotspot. I'll be honest. I don't really run into a situation where I need cellular data on anything other than my phone, but let's see. What's your favorite watch band in color? Oh, well, this is probably my favorite watch band of all time. They don't sell it anymore. It was like a limited time offer. I think it was back in 2017 when I bought it, but it's like a blue Nike band, and I haven't seen them sell one in this color before since then. And I don't know if this is my favorite color combo ever, but it's not bad. It's the graphite steel So it's kind of glossy, but I mainly went with steel for the sapphire glass. But it looks nice. I like the way they contrast. But I've been thinking of switching it up. I might go with a darker watch band. From storage, obviously. I'm not going to buy any more watch bands. Apple already has something kind of close to universal control. It's called screen share. You should try it on the stream. I've done screen sharing. I don't think that's the same thing at all. AirPods lose a little bit of battery overnight. That's normal. 5 to 10% battery drain is fine. Really? Why would they lose that? Is that for battery health preservation? Huh. Thanks to 9 to 5 Toys, I got a deal on the Magic Keyboard. Well, there's an Apple product that's in desperate need of a deal. My God. It's awful. macOS needs a bug fix update. Back in 2009, Apple released OS X Snow Leopard, which didn't have any new features compared to Leopard. Apple should have made macOS Very Big Sur instead of macOS Monterey. Well, what is Monterey? Because it's not trying to offer that many new features, obviously. Haven't got many. Have you had any experience with burn-in? None of my Apple products I've ever gotten burn-in on. Some people have told me they've gotten burn-in on their iPhone X, but I haven't seen anyone in person. My mom is currently using the iPhone X I bought way back in 2017 for this channel. If you guys scroll back and watch me unbox and review the original iPhone X, that's the phone my wife, my mom still uses here, and I did not notice any burn-in. The battery's getting kind of old, but yeah, it's over 4 years now. It's coming up on its 5th year, so that's kind of normal. Battery health will go down at that point. Oh, we got some frame drops. Sorry about that. Wonder what happened. Peter, we're getting some frame drops. Jeez, I wonder why it's doing that. Let me check. Weird. Okay. Knock on wood, but I've never had burn-in on any of my OLED, and I got a handful of them. Okay. I knew several people that were getting burn-in issues on their like Galaxy S8s and stuff. Do you seriously see buying AirPods Max in 2022? I've been tempted a few times, but overall the fact that I would have to use Lightning and the stupid case has dissuaded me. I definitely don't want to pay full price. I've been looking at second-hand AirPods Maxes to see what they're going for, but maybe I should switch networks. I'm actually streaming off of Mint Mobile tonight. I was getting annoyed with all the lag Starlink was offering, but now Mint is lagging. Let's see. My AirPods Pro, which I got in July, drained from 100%. Okay. I guess that's fine. It's normal, right? Do you think Apple will offer 2019 Mac Pro users an Apple Silicon upgrade path? I kind of doubt it. I think that the architectures are just so fundamentally different. I don't think it would be that simple. Just buy this package and now you'll have Apple Silicon in your Mac Pro. That'd be cool if you could, but Mint Mobile has that deal right now where if you buy 3 months for $45, you get 3 months free. They usually, like, at all times I've ever gone to their website, they have some kind of deal like that going on where it's like you get free this for this many months, or you get free this for this long, or whatever. Let's see. I had burn-in on my iPhone X. The keyboard keys were burned in. It was very subtle. You could see it only when scrolling in bright backgrounds. I guess if that happened to my iPhone, I would probably just leave it at dark mode all the time. They still sell the blue/green glow Nike Sport Band. I haven't seen one that's this color. Let me look. I know they've had other Nike bands, but this one specifically, I think it was... Someone reminded me what it was. I think it was like Tahoe Blue or something. Yeah, I don't see it. I'm looking. Let's see. That's a pretty sweet deal. You're talking about $750 a month for 6 months. That's true. That's very low. Burn-in occurs when the blue pixels physically degrade. It really is just a random thing that gets more likely with time. Yeah, that's fundamentally, I think, what's prevented Apple from adopting OLED and more stuff. Let's see. Okay, I don't. Luckily, I don't have to read it, but I can just tell when someone's spamming, so I can put you in timeout. Let's see. If Apple pays T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T then they can't get sued for antitrust over their own cellular because the carriers are making those profits back, especially if they only make it in the US. People, it's not really based around logic. People will just do it. Um, People will just accuse Apple of being a monopoly. Like, I don't think Apple's a monopoly now, and there have already been accused. It's like, you have too much control over the iOS App Store. It's like, well, that's our App Store. Of course we have control over that. I'm trying to find my band. I can't find it. Hey, thank you, Cameron, for the super chat. I've had battery indicator burn in on every OLED iPhone I've had. Really? That's interesting. Well, I guess I haven't owned any of my OLED iPhones for that long. Maybe I'll notice it on my 13 Pro Max. Is Universal Control going to be like AirPower, which just never launches and was promised but abandoned project? I really hope not. I don't know if there's ever. Can anyone else recall a time Apple did that with a software thing? AirPower was hardware, right? Like, here's a charger we're going to make, and then they can't figure it out and it gets scrapped. But has there ever been like a software feature that they said was coming and then it never came? I don't know. LCD burn-in doesn't exist. That's image retention. It goes away after a couple minutes. I noticed that. Like, my old iMac from 2012, I would notice like slight burn-in looking, where the pixels would stay there. But yeah, if I shut it off and turned it back on, it was gone. Do you see any stable future for the SE products for 10 years, or Apple will discontinue them earlier? I think they seem pretty stable. I think Apple likes having an iPhone that just covers the basics, that's not very fancy, that doesn't have the greatest display or the best camera. They just covers the basics for people who want an iPhone, especially as Apple is trying to push more services. And they're like, as long as they have an iCloud account, we have a revenue stream. I'm like, okay, sounds good. Let's see. I don't know if you have noticed, but iPhone 13 Pro series with ProMotion displays have lowered flickering a lot. Previous OLED iPhones had a flickering issue on very low brightness levels. I did not notice that. I didn't notice it on my previous iPhones, but I guess I'll never notice because I don't have that. I don't have any video game consoles. No, I'm sorry. I spend all my time making YouTube videos, so I don't have much time to play games. My cheapo gaming monitor has image retention. It's probably because I leave it in for about 8 hours at a time, though. Yeah, that'll happen. That makes sense. That's why screensavers are good, right? They kind of give the display a workout. It's like, if you want the computer to keep doing things, but you don't want the pixels to be... I don't think it long-term matters that much, but... do you think they'll ever update the iPod Touch since it's still currently in the store? It doesn't need to be. I've been saying for years I think they should kill it. I don't think there's a market for it. I would love to know how many people are buying that thing. I don't understand what the motivation to keep it is. Like, does Apple think... Are they just afraid of the headline, Apple killed the iPod? I don't know. I would rather people just buy old iPhones. You can get old iPhones for cheaper than the iPod Touch that are better than the iPod Touch. I don't buy that whole, it's good for kids thing. It's like, nah, get the kids a cheapo iPad, get the kids most people are just handing kids their old iPhone now anyway. I've been to family events and I've seen families in public. I don't see kids with iPods anymore. I can't remember the last time I ever saw someone just pull out an iPod Touch, child or adult. I don't get who it's for. Some people have made up these use cases of our business uses iPod Touches as notepads. It's like, no, the keyboards are too small. Just buy old iPhone 7s. Buy old iPhone 8s at this point. You can get much bigger displays for pretty dang cheap anyway. Let's see. What recommendations do you say to Apple about the Apple One subscriptions bundle that we have? I don't have many ideas other than it's just... I think they're not worth it to me, is I guess the problem. So I don't know what Apple can do to make them more worth it. Maybe if they lowered the prices if you're an Apple Card user or something. That's probably my one suggestion. They should rope in some more Apple Card benefits with the Apple One program. Right now, there's no difference between if you have Apple One with or without the Apple Card. Not much changes. But if you could get an Apple Card Premium and you got better cash back and you got better rewards and you got Apple Care included with every product. And sure, it cost more money, but like basically, if there was a version of the Apple Card that you could only get if you bought Apple One Premier, but then it gave you a bunch of other benefits, that would be cool. I would like to see that. On Tesla's Lite for the Model S, they change active noise cancellation name to active road noise reduction. Oh, okay. Interesting. Some people set their iPhone to never turn the display off automatically. If they forget to turn it off manually, the burn-in is way more possible to occur. That's funny because I do that. All of my iPhones I've left to like never auto lock, and I've never noticed burn-in. It's weird. Have you considered having kids? Yeah, I've considered it. I haven't come to a decision, but yes, I've given it a fair bit of thought. Safe to say, and I think I'll be fine either way. It's kids are a weird subject because it's like deciding to have kids is a big decision. It's like whoa, well, man, that's a big choice. And if you decide I don't want to have kids, it's like whoa, okay, that's big. So no matter what you do, it's a big decision. There's no way out of it. But I think I've come to the terms with like I'll be happy if we have kids and I'll do the best I can. If we don't have kids, I'll be fine. I'll make the best of it. I'm just living in the moment. I'm just happy for where I am. I'm happy to have you guys interested in the same stuff I'm interested in, willing to watch this moron in his office just talk to himself all night. I love this. This is what I'm enjoying right now. So, yeah, kids will eat up time, that's for sure, but it doesn't mean it's worse. I haven't talked to that many parents that are like, why did I waste so much time raising my children? I could be talking with nerds on the internet about Apple products. Yeah, I didn't hear that. This is what they could do. Apple One Premier, 20% off, all Apple Care and unlimited, 5% cash back. That would be pretty good. I mean, it's quite a bit. There's a lot of more expensive credit cards out there with better perks. Let's see, $30 a month. That ends up being $360 a year. So that's up there with higher tier credit cards. But if you could rope people into paying for Apple One Premier because they would get better cash back, that would probably be the only way to get me on board with some Apple services. If I found out, okay, like this MacBook Pro was half the reason I got an Apple card. That sounds dumb. It's like, why would you get a credit card just for one purchase? But it's like 3% back, which thanks to the Apple glitch ended up being 6% back. 6% cash back on a $6,000 Apple product. That's over $300. And I didn't have to pay anything for that credit card. It's a free credit card. I've never gotten an interest payment. I've never carried a balance on it. And I got over $300 off this purchase just for buying it with that card. So I'd say that's worth it to me. Only took 5 minutes to set up the whole card. And of course, I use Apple Pay as much as I can. So I've made a decent amount of cash back. I think in the analytics of Apple Card, it tells you. And last I checked, it was something like $200 or $300 a year, not counting the MacBook Pro. Like before I bought the MacBook Pro, I made like $300 a year or something in cash back just by using Apple Pay with 2% and that kind of stuff. Having kids to help you and give you youth inspiration when you get older is a serious thing. It's a serious thing, I agree, but it's kind of that probably shouldn't be the driving force to have kids. I should have kids so someone can take care of me later. Nah, the Tesla bots will do that. We'll have robots taking care of us. Let's see. My country has the most expensive iPhone in the world from the Apple Store. At least something we are in first place. Well, even think about that of like the luxury company that makes like the solid gold iPhones. What do you think of Windows 11? I haven't tried it, but it looks fine. I mean, the aesthetic is nice. It looks kind of macOS-like, but I like the way macOS looks. So I'm like, hey, copy the good stuff. I'm not saying no one can copy each other. It's fine. I've had major issues with Windows 10, but it had nothing to do with the design or the UI. It was with, drivers and software updates showing up in inconvenient times, and I would have driver corruptions that would literally prevent me from being able to do what I needed to do. Like, I can get by with Android. I prefer iOS, but Android's fine. Like, I can live with it. It gets the job done. it's not a platform I hate. I don't hate Android. I just think iOS is better. But I legitimately hated Windows because I was trying to get work done on it. I was trying to live stream, I was trying to edit videos, and because of those stupid updates and because of these updates, like for 1 week it would be working fine. And I'd be like, "Okay, great. I can open the program, I can do this live stream and it works. Sounds great." And then the next week, oh, I got some updates and it installs them and it takes forever. And then it breaks all my drivers. Now the webcam crashes the OS. Now the microphone makes me sound like a monster. It's like the pitch has been way lowered for no reason. There's no setting that's like pitch. It just magically broke my microphone settings. And one day it just like, it wouldn't open my application. I was like, I'm trying to open my video editing app and it just wouldn't open because it went through some update and it broke. So just the reliability of macOS has been far more stable to me. Granted, it's not perfect. I've ran into bugs and I've had glitches with macOS. It's just the number of issues with macOS for me has been substantially lower. I can't ever recall a time that I can think of, and I've been using Macs a lot longer than PCs. Um, but I can't ever recall a time where I got up one day and I was like, okay, time for work. Let me edit this video. And I opened the Mac and it was like, sorry, I'm installing updates. Like, it's never happened. It's always been like, hey, some updates are ready. Do you want to install them now or do you want to try tonight? And I hit try tonight and then it installs when I'm asleep and I wake up and it's ready to go. That's always been my story with Macs. And I haven't found an editing application that's as optimized as Final Cut is on the Mac. So there's very little motivation for me to switch. I'm not going to find something faster. I'm not going to find something that works as well with AirDrop and iMessage, which I do use quite a bit. I legitimately, like, people text me on my Mac all the time and I reply right off the thing. I don't have to go grab my phone. And I didn't have to download some third-party app and make some phone tether app. It works with PC, but you got to sync it up across this thing and then all the drivers come around and break all your applications. It's like, ugh, no thank you. Um, but it's never been an issue with aesthetic. I always thought Windows 10 looked fine. It's not been like, oh, it's ugly, I don't like it. It's like, yeah, it's the way it's laid out is clean. It looks cool. It's just the reliability factor. Um there's no guarantee the kids will love you when you grow old. I love all these like tech questions intermixed with deep personal questions. It's perfect. Let's see. They don't put screen protectors or cases on their phones because if they break, they could easily replace them. Wait, what are you talking about? Don't you think the new iMacs are too fragile for a typical classroom environment? Eh, I would, in my experience, as my parents started a charter school and worked there for several years, the cheap basic computers typically broke and then you had to replace them. So they actually had better experience with the iPads, even though they're made of metal and glass, but they could take a fall. They could drop off a desk. They would get cases for them and stuff. But frankly, I don't really think iMacs are that common in the school world. I know that they're sometimes used in universities and high schools, but then that's when you don't have to worry as much. It still happens, but you don't have to worry as much as about kids running around and tripping and throwing things and it breaking. Like, no, they're pretty durable. I'm not convinced the iMac could, fall off a desk, but I don't think that's a very common use case. But if your argument is we should use a PC instead, it's less likely to survive anyway. Um, I don't think classrooms where you have kids throwing stuff and running around the room, I don't think they're going to be using desktops. They don't want wireless mouse or keyboards out there. The kids are going to run off with them. At least in the charter schools my parents ran, they used iPads and they put them in pretty bulky cases, and the iPads were dropped and tossed, and they aged great. They didn't have to replace it. My entire primary school was iMacs. Yeah, well, see, they're case in point. Were those iMacs more durable than the M1 iMacs? I don't think. I have a problem with how inconsistent Windows 10 UI was. Well, I'd say Mac OS has had UI things that didn't really line up great either, but it's not the end of the world. With desktops and laptops, I'm more concerned about like how good it is at getting work done. I don't care as much about the UI. However, I do think Mac OS looks nicer. Um, iPhone 13 base model costs $1,200 here in Brazil. As I said, one of the most expensive. Yep, that's what import tariffs do. We use old iPads and iPods at my work, and I wonder if they'll end up having to update their models in the near future. Please just don't get iPods. Such a waste. Our school has 2019 iMacs, but wired keyboard and mice. Yeah, that's what I figured. They don't like the wireless stuff. My school in the Philippines are all running Windows. Well, yeah, that's the most common. It's far cheaper. I don't recall that many schools that had full labs of Macs. My college did, but not my high school. If you don't plan to drop your device, there's no reason for a case. Yeah, that's where I am. Still don't have a case. That's by far the most common like feedback I get whenever I hold my phone to someone. No one's like, "Wow, you got a 13," or "What kind of iPhone is this?" They're always like, "Where's your case?" And I'm like, "I don't use one." It just happened the other night. I wanted to take a picture with my wife, and I was like, "Can you take a picture of us?" And he was like, "Where's your case? You're going caseless?" And I was like, "Yeah, I just don't drop it." People are like, "Yeah, but sometimes accidents happen." And I'm like, "Not here. I don't drop it. I don't drop things I spend a lot of money on. That's just a philosophy I live by." I've never broken an iPhone screen. It's never happened. Um, there were Mac Minis with wired Lenovo monitors, which had a slot in the back for the Mac Mini to go into. There you go. That's a decent idea. If you want a computer lab full of Macs, lock them up. Put all the Mac Minis in there and just have the ports exposed, and you can plug in what you need to. Use the crappiest monitor you can find. That would give me anxiety. You have a brave soul. I've been doing it for like, how many years have I owned an iPhone? 8 years now? 9 years? It's not, just don't drop it. I don't understand how that's so impossible to like fathom. The FBI does not like the Magic Mouse. I like it. I understand why some people don't, but just for the video editing workflow I'm used to, I've tried other mice. I cannot get it. I cannot be as fast. I would like to see someone that can edit videos faster than I can and see how they do it. I'd be curious. Yeah. I broke my 4 after dropping it on bathroom tile. I learned the hard way. I broke an iPod touch screen in middle school, but that was a long time ago. And then I replaced the glass on it. Um, Accidents are not in my vocabulary. Oh god. Yeah. We have a stack of Magic keyboards and mice in the back of our school computer lab, so we don't steal them with the computers. Okay, yeah. Kids are weird. I don't know what they're planning on doing with those mice, but they're just like, it's something small. I can fit it in my pocket, and it's expensive. Peterman says, I want to go caseless also. I don't drop either, but I don't like the risk of accumulating micro scratches on the chassis from rough everyday use, so I like to keep it pristine as possible. I don't get the micro scratches either, I'll be honest. I baby my thing. I baby my phone because I spent a lot of money on it. Try replacing an iPad Pro display. I will not, Bob, but thanks for the advice. Dropping your phone is avoidable, like don't eat and use your phone while walking. I still eat and use my phone while walking, but yeah, just hold on to it. Don't be loose with that thing. Don't be throwing it around. Don't be sloppy. Accidents could happen, yes, but I it hasn't come up. Maybe I would get a case if I accidentally did drop it and it shattered. I'd be like, okay, now a case was worth it, so I'll not make that mistake again. But so far that mistake has not been made, so I've not justified the cost. I also just love the way my phone feels without a case. It already feels big and heavy, and I would not like it to be even thicker and heavier. Yeah, I tried a Dbrand Skin. I didn't like it. It felt like a sticker after a while. It looks really nice for the first couple of weeks, and then it starts like peeling, and it starts like what was happening was I was in high school when I got one for my iPhone 6 Plus. And when I first got it on, it looked cool, it looked nice, and then a few weeks went by and it would be hot. It would get hot either from me watching videos on it or me using it as a hotspot, or I would be using it outside in the sun or something, and the residue that the D brand stuck to the back with would just start to peel, and it would just start wearing on the sides, and it just didn't age very well, so I just took it off. Um, yeah, don't smoke weird stuff while using your Apple devices. Exactly. Are you going to redesign your logo at the new year? At this point, it sounds like it's going to be up to Nick. So Nick reached out to me and said that he's going to try to redesign the intros and outros and everything for Tailosive. But I had nothing scheduled. The year had kind of flown by. I was like, oh my God, we're already near the end. And I have nothing planned for the new intros, but Nick did approach me and say he wants to try. So there's no guarantee. His schedule might get more busy and maybe he won't have time. But it's if he comes up with one, we'll use it. And if he doesn't, then we'll probably just use the current one. Was it a red skin? It was white and red, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I don't have kids. Watching on the new M1 Pro MacBook Pro 16-inch. This thing is a masterpiece. Starting to not even use my iPad Air 4 much anymore. There you go. I'm telling you, product of the year. Someone asked me earlier in the stream. They were like, what's your favorite Apple product? This is it. It's got it. Apple Card Pro. You get 5 gigs more iCloud storage. Wow. What a savings. Thank you, MC Rich, for the super chat. Appreciate it. Was thinking of skin plus screen protector, but nah, just stick to cases then. It's possible that they may have changed it. I don't know. Maybe the Dbrand residue has gotten better or the Dbrand's aged nicer now. I'm not sure. But yeah, at least when I tried it, it started looking ugly after a while. Anyway, someone asked earlier what my favorite Apple product was. I have to say right now, 16-inch MacBook Pro is a beast. I can't complain. Like, exceeded my expectations. I wanted a faster Mac powered by Apple Silicon. I wanted better battery life. I wanted good speakers and a nice big display. And last minute ended up being 120 hertz. And the speed of the M1 Max was way faster than I was anticipating. I thought it would be like maybe 50% or twice as fast as my iMac Pro. It ended up being closer to like 3 times as fast. It's insanely good. So that's why I do not plan on upgrading it for a long time. I don't say that, but Juan is like, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe to show our appreciation. Don't fuss over all that. YouTubers make it sound like those things make a difference. They don't. It doesn't matter. It just makes them feel better because they see the numbers go up. The algorithm doesn't care. Have you ever watched Google or Microsoft launch events? What did you think? They're okay. They all feel like they're trying to do what Apple does, and they just kind of fail at it. But yeah, I thought I watched the last Microsoft event. But yeah, I watched several Google events. What do you think the desktop speeds will be? If it's anything like think of the pattern we had last year, right? We had the M1 MacBooks come out, and then they did the M1 24-inch iMac. And for some reason, people thought because it had 2 fans and because it was a desktop pulling more power from the wall, that would make the M1 chip faster. In my experience, it didn't. I did not notice much difference in the M1 MacBook Air versus M1 24-inch iMac. They both kind of performed the same, even with the fans kicking in. So I would expect that because the M1 Pro and M1 Max are already so capable, they'll probably be fine just doing an iMac Pro with the same specs. Like, I know there's some people speculating that they're going to do dual M1 Max chips. That would be cool, but I just haven't really seen much concrete leakers or analysts claiming that's what's going to happen. I just see people speculating. It's not to say it's impossible, but I still think they'd probably be fine just using the M1 Max on the iMac Pro and calling it a day. Yeah, I still use Discord every day. Yes, I don't do giveaways. Thank you for reminding people that. Yeah. I've done them in the past, but I didn't like the audience they attracted. It just brought a bunch of people that had no interest in my videos or watching my content, and all they wanted was free stuff. And then after that, people just kept asking for more and more free stuff, and I was like, okay, I get why channels do this, because you get a lot of attention and you can make a lot of people click a like button or whatever, but I'm like, that doesn't matter. Who cares? And I don't want a bunch of people just saying, when are you going to give me a free this? When are you going to send me free stuff? Like, I don't want to be known for that. It's not that I hate channels that do it. You can run your channel however you want, but I have decided for me and my channel, I don't want to do giveaways. So if you ever see a bot or if you ever see an account reaching out to you saying, congratulations, you've won this Tailosive tech. Just text this WhatsApp number. That's not me. There's no giveaways. We're not doing any giveaways. Frayden says, thanks for the help with AirPods. Oh, you're welcome. I hope you got something that worked. Favorite Apple product of all time, the Apple II. Did my graduate studies on that machine. Wow. One of the first. I can confidently say I've never used it. I like cases for the grip. I got plenty good grip. Maybe Apple doesn't make an external display because it would make no sense to buy an iMac if you can have the same power but portable and dockable. Well, why do they have a Pro Display then, right? Like, why not just put the Pro Display XDR tech into an iMac? They didn't do that. It's possible that Apple's logic is, well, if we do make a standalone monitor, it's going to be so outrageously expensive that no one would buy it in replacement of an iMac. So, okay, instead of buying a $2,000 iMac, you can buy a $6,000 Pro Display. Maybe that's Apple's logic, but yeah, I'm really not interested in spending that much money on a monitor, even if it is made by Apple and even if it has 120 hertz. That would be great, but it's a lot of money, and I'm planning on taking more trips next year and spending more time away from the office. That's the main reason I got a laptop, so that I could work from away from home, and I'm not going to be able to pack a big monitor around with me everywhere I go, so that's why I got the biggest screen I could. Good night, Simos. Thanks for tuning in. Do you think the iPhone 8 will get how many more years of updates? How many is it at? 2017? So it's coming up on its 5th year. I think it should easily get 7 or 8. I'd be surprised if it got much less than that. I've been using nothing but Apple computers for 42 years. That's why I get my Apple gear early, sometimes for free. What? You get it for free? Wait, do we have Wozniak in the chat tonight? Is that what's going on? Dang it, Woz. Using his alt account. What's the oldest iPhone model you'd be willing to still use? I mean, if it was like instead of not having a phone, I would basically use anything. It's not like if I needed a phone and someone was like, well, you can use this iPhone 7, I'd be like, ew, no, I'd rather just not have one. It's like, obviously, I guess as long as I have an iPhone that runs the latest version of iOS and can send texts, I could get by. But each iPhone you go down, I'm just going to be less and less comfortable. I'd use an iPhone 6s. Yeah, that's the oldest iPhone still getting updates, I suppose. Let's see. Winning the Apple Polishing Club. I don't understand how that turned into such a meme. People went crazy with that. Just because it was like mildly expensive and Apple didn't sell it before, people are like, Polishing Club! And everyone just wouldn't stop talking about it. I just used my t-shirt. Who cares? You're the oldest Apple user in your country. That's why I get promotional material. Wow. Fancy. When do you think the cheaper Apple monitor will come out? I would have to imagine it would make a ton of sense to launch it alongside the new Mac Pro, because that's when the Pro Display came out, is they were like, okay, here's this crazy, $50,000 Mac tower. Now partner it with this $5,000 monitor. So if they are going to refresh the Pro Display, it would make sense to do it alongside that. So probably not the next Apple event, probably not the spring, but maybe it would make sense to do it at WDC. Don't know. Oh, SRYEV China. Love your channel, mate. Long-term subscriber. Good luck on your Model Y phone. Thank you, man. This is helping with that. I appreciate it. It seems very unlikely that the iPhone 14 Pro will have a hole punch camera, in my opinion. What's your take on this? I think I want to upgrade to the 13 Pro. There's a lot of people saying it will have the hole punch camera, but I think the bigger problem with me is I just don't care. It's like I've used phones with hole punch cameras. I don't find them more immersive. I don't find that a feature. I find it a slight incremental design improvement that's kind of arguably an improvement. If anything, it's like a side grade. Because typically, if you want to stuff pixels above a webcam, you have to push the camera down closer towards the part of the display you actually look at. So you can actually get the camera more out of the way if you do a notch. So I would almost rather take a notch for that reason. It's not like you get more screen real estate. It's not like you can use your phone differently if it has a hole punch camera. So it might have one. You know, Ross Young is saying it's possible. There's a few leakers who have claimed it's possible, but it's certainly too early. You know, nothing's been finalized. Apple's not in mass production yet. So they're likely weighing what things they can and can't add. They're probably checking prices. They're asking suppliers, what can you offer us? Can you offer this many displays at this price? And they're likely negotiating all that right now. And if the negotiations end up being like, no, this is too expensive, I wouldn't be shocked at all if Apple just says, okay, no hole punch this year. We'll stick with the notch. So that's why I just try to preface people like, don't hold off your purchase or wait on buying an iPhone just because a leaker tells you a hole punch camera is coming next year and that's going to be a big, massive upgrade. It's like, no, it's still just an iPhone. You're going to use it the exact same way. It's still going to be gesture control. It's still going to have a decent camera. It's still going to have a decent battery life. It's probably still going to have stupid lightning. Who cares? You know, like if there's a few more pixels up there by the widget, I don't think it makes a difference. Should I buy an iPhone 7 for music and podcasts? I need the headphone. iPod Touch 7. Sorry, that's what you said. Just music and podcasts? That's all you plan on using it for? I'd almost rather you just get a budget iPad if that's all you're going to use it for. But you might want something you can take with you with your pocket. Why do you need the headphone jack so bad? That's the real question. Just use the little $9 adapter on your phone. It's not that bad. I'm sorry, I don't know exactly who, and I don't know how to attach your account to your Discord username. So to get unbanned from Discord, this is not the way to do it. I don't know how to do it. I don't know who you are, or why you were banned, or how you were banned. So I don't unban people. That's not my thing. I don't manage all that stuff. What time is it in California? It's 8:48 p.m. Should Apple have a private or encrypted gallery within photos? Sure. I thought there were apps that already did that. But yeah, why not? You know, biometric protect certain folders for whatever reason you want. But just keep in mind, any device that stores digital media that has access to the internet, it's not private. It's not unhackable. There's a way for someone to get in there. It doesn't matter how much the company boasts about it being locked down and encrypted. There's a way. So if you have incriminating pictures or, you know, photos, first of all, if you're a criminal, you should get caught. So second of all, if you're not a criminal and you just have some private stuff, then it's probably best not to store it on a device that has internet access. After my conversations with people who work in cybersecurity and who have worked for the government, online privacy is kind of a myth. It's a sad reality, but it's just kind of the facts. This isn't like the iPhone 8 rumors way back then. No, it isn't. iPhone 8 was like so many changes all at once. It was like, yeah, we're going with the curved corners. We're going away from the home button. We're going with gestures. We're going with Face ID. We're going with an upgraded dual camera optical image stabilization station. We're getting OLED. We're getting a higher pixel density, new aspect ratio, new chassis design, wireless charging. There were so many changes all brought at once. Now people are acting like iPhone 10 upgrade is similar to the hole punch camera. Wow, it's like, it doesn't compare. Do I think Apple Car will be successful? No, because I don't think it'll exist. So that it's hard to be successful if you don't exist. Is anyone excited for the iPhone SE Plus, or is it just me? I don't think that's going to happen. Based on what Ross Young is saying, who has a pretty reputable track record, sounds like we're getting a new iPhone SE with 5G at the next spring event in March, which will be boring, and it will probably be the worst SE of all time because they're not going to improve the battery life, and that 5G is going to suck the battery out of that thing like crazy. So that's going to suck. And then a year after that, or maybe it's 2 years after that, I can't remember, but I think Ross Young has said there's a plan for an iPhone SE in 2023 that's going to look a lot like an iPhone XR. It just has one camera on the back, but it has a liquid retina 6.1-inch display, and that would be the bigger iPhone. But I know there was some talk of them reviving like the iPhone 8 Plus design with a newer CPU. I never thought that was going to happen. After they discontinued the 8 Plus when the SE2 came out, I was like, no, they're not going to bring back that design. They're not producing it anymore, so there's not much cost savings by reusing that old design. You'd have to start all over again anyway. So I think after next year, when the price of the iPhone 11 manufacturing goes even further down, right now you can buy an iPhone 11 for $499, which is a pretty freaking good deal, honestly. If you look at the whole iPhone lineup, 11 is probably the best bang for your buck. It's only $100 more than the SE, and you get an actual usable battery, and there's no 5G, which I consider a selling point. I'm like, hey, nice. Do you think Apple's vision for AR will triumph over Facebook/Metaverse? I don't think Metaverse will succeed really in any way, shape, or form. So I guess, yeah. Do you think Apple could have saved the iPhone naming convention if they named the 10 the 9 instead and kept doing S years and never did the Roman numerals? I had a concept, Sam, a while ago. If you've been watching me for a few years, you've probably heard me say this pitch before. But no, I don't think they should have called it the 9. Um, but I do think if they would have called the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus the 7S and 7S Plus, that would have been much more consistent with the naming scheme. And then instead of calling the iPhone 10 what they did, call it the iPhone edition. Call it like, we're celebrating 10 years of iPhone, so we have a very special, high-end, more expensive version of the iPhone that's really fancy. And then you'd have your normal phones, the 7S and 7S Plus, because, they looked so similar anyway. It was, I think a lot of people, it was a big S year, to be fair, because you got the whole glass back and the storage improvements went up and the processing speed was kind of a big jump and the cameras got a lot better. So even if it was an S year, it would have been a fairly major one. But still, for the sake of naming consistency, just calling it 7S and 7S Plus and then iPhone Edition. And then once you reach 2018 and you've got two sizes of OLED iPhone, I would have called that iPhone 8 and iPhone 8 Plus. So you could say, okay, the 7S, that was a spec bump for the most part with the glass backs and everything. And then the following year, you get the real redesign. And then the iPhone edition can be considered a one-off. It was a specialty iPhone. It was not like meant to fit in with the rest of the lineup, because the problem with 10 is that everyone said X. So there was a wrong way to say it. And then after that, everyone was saying XS Max. And it was way too confusing. So I would have preferred them to just keep going with, here's 8. And then instead of 11 and 11 Pro Max or whatever, you could have called it 8S and 8S Plus. You could have just kept going with what they already had. I think that would have been easier. You just do a number and then S and then a number and then S. And then if you want to do 1 year where there's one phone that's way different, I guess what would they have called the 10R? I guess maybe I would have called it like the 8C because it was colorful. That can be the year of all the iPhone 8s. And then the following year you could have, I don't know, maybe that's when they should drop the S and start going with 9s or something. I don't know. With the number of iPhones they've made, there's not a super easy, consistent way for them to do all that. Let's see. No, Tailosive's not hiring. I'm sorry. All my iPhones from the first one are in great condition, except one of my iPhone 4s, which suffered from an inflated battery. Uh-oh. That's not good. It's crazy how, despite Apple's iPhone naming being an utter mess, it's still the most consistent in the industry. I don't know. I thought the Galaxy S series was pretty consistent. I actually think their idea was not that bad. They went to doing the last 2 numbers of the year. They went to S20 for 2020 and then S21 and S22. I was like, yeah, that's a naming scheme that'll last like centuries. So that's pretty smart. I wish Apple would do something like that. Why is Tesla quality control so trash? Well, the thing about quality control is you notice it when it's bad, and then no one says anything when it's good. I've actually watched quite a few recent videos of Tesla deliveries, and they all had really, really good quality control. But it's mostly an issue with the Fremont factory being dated and laid out poorly because it was not built by Tesla. Quality control out of Giga Shanghai has been amazing because they built that factory from the ground up. And they're going for even next level precision with Giga Berlin and Giga Texas. So that tells me that the quality control with Tesla is a Fremont problem. It's not a Tesla problem. It's not a fundamental flaw with the whole company. It's just a problem with that factory. And they can't shut down that factory and update it because it's their bread and butter building all their cars right now. But once Giga Texas is ramped up, and that's going to be building great quality control vehicles, and Giga Berlin is ramped up, and that'll be doing great quality control and all that. Then they'll probably be able to afford to shut down Fremont for a little while, update the assembly process, and get quality control done. But it's actually had pretty reliable builds more recently. But of course, when it does go poorly, people all notice it. But when it goes well, no one writes articles about it. Let's see. New iPhone naming convention was definitely from the crack marketing team. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's something marketing wise about 9. Like Microsoft didn't want to do Windows 9. Apple didn't want to do iPhone 9. I think it's something to do with it being too close to 10. And there were other phones at that time with newer numbers and stuff. So with higher numbers, and people didn't want to think, oh, the iPhone number is lower. That means it's worse. I think it's stupid. I don't think anyone actually believes that, but for marketing purposes, they probably had someone in charge that was like, hey, our studies say that the phone will do better if we give it a higher number. So that's why you have Huawei going, Mate 30, Mate 40, Mate 50. It's like, get the highest number you can in front of everybody. Waymo seems way safer. Waymo just crashed into a pedestrian recently, but I would say FSD isn't as dangerous because it's not telling people to not pay attention. It's like, it's only going to do what people don't intervene for. But Tesla knows FSD is not safe. That's why they tell you to pay attention, and that's why they don't give the beta to anybody. My buddy Randy has a perfect safety score, and they won't give the beta to him. So obviously, when you're trying to design self-driving software, and you're trying to figure out what all the problems are, you will find problems. That's why it's in beta. That's why they don't give it to anybody. If it was perfect and it was reliable, then it wouldn't be in beta, and they would just give it to everybody. But that's not what they're doing. They're trying to actively make it better, and they have made it better. It's gotten a lot better over the past year, thanks to finding all those problems. Did you notice housing is the only industry that hasn't switched to factory assembly line principles like sneakers, cars, iPhones have all gotten cheaper because of this? The problem with real estate is not that it's part of the problem, but for the most part, the cost of a lot of housing doesn't have much to do with the materials that go into the house. It has more to do with land, which there's a finite amount of, and you kind of need to plop your house on. So if you don't have property, that's the bigger problem. Your Lisa doesn't work. That sucks. Let's see. The Romans numerals started with OS 10. They already faced the issue and didn't care. Even employees call it X instead of 10. It's funny how you write that, and I know what you mean. How is the iPhone SE3 going to integrate Touch ID into the iPhone XR body? I heard that it will be in the power button. Yeah, that's what I heard as well. But no, the SE3 is the same design as the SE2, just with 5G. What Ross Young was talking about was the 4th gen SE coming in 2023. That would probably have Touch ID in the side button. Good night, Nick. Have a good rest. Sleep good. Apple Watch Series 7 is much more desirable than Series 6, though it has almost no benefits other than a higher number. No benefits? Talking about the QWERTY keyboard, talking about the faster charging, talking about the larger display, which makes it far easier to see all the content on your watch. Yeah, well, if you ignore all of the benefits, there's no benefits. Yeah, got it. By that regard, the Apple Watch has never had an upgrade because all the changes are basically nothing. You could say that about any watch. Well, it's not midnight here, but yeah, it's late. They can't give the beta to Randy because it's a liability for Tesla if he gets into an accident. Well, they've given the beta to Mike. Why can they give the beta to Mike but not Randy? Mike's safety score was lower than Randy's. That doesn't make sense. Humans pay to live on Earth. That's true. Well, we've just found it easier to have a checks and balances way of, taxes and having some kind of higher power that monitors and regulates everything. Humanity hasn't done as well when you didn't have those things. Faster charging on Series 7 is disabled in some countries, including mine. So is the ECG. So I guess the Series 4 is not a good upgrade. If I were to get an iPhone with Touch ID, what would last the longest in terms of longevity? Longevity. That's a fun term. Probably at this point, the iPhone SE. You could buy a fairly, new one. You can buy it new from Apple. It'll have Touch ID, and it will probably get software updates for 6-7 years at least. What was the strategic purpose of the Apple Card? Doesn't seem to fit their business model. Well, what's their business model? I mean, Apple was just going for more services. They were looking for more monthly recurring revenue. And credit cards, companies make a lot of money off of credit card debt. And people carrying balances and paying interest fees. And also, when someone pays for something with a credit card, typically the credit card issuer gets a little cut of the transaction. It's very small. It's usually 1% or less. So they might have worked out a deal with Goldman Sachs. Apple might only get 0.5% of every transaction. But if Apple has a very large user base of like 1 billion iPhone users monthly, and if you get, obviously they're not all in the US, but if you can get 10 million, 40 million people in the US all putting their transactions on the Apple Card, and you get 0.5% of every transaction, that's a lot of revenue. Is the M2 chip going to be so much faster than M1? I don't think terribly faster. I don't think it'll be as big a jump as like M1 Pro and M1 Max. Those are way faster. I think M2 is mostly going to be, from what I've read, it's going to prioritize better graphics. But it'll have the same number of high performance cores, same number of efficiency cores. Those individual cores might be improved a little bit, so I expect a bit of a performance jump and maybe a better focus on efficiency more so than power. So it'll be better than the M1 for sure, but I just don't think it'll be like faster than M1 Pro. I don't think that's what's going to happen. Which Apple Watch is better, the SE or Series 7? Well, it depends. SE is the better value. Series 7 is the better watch overall. So it just depends on what matters. If money matters, then SE. If money doesn't matter so much, then the 7. It has a larger screen, but that's one feature. Didn't even get a processor upgrade. When did people care about processor upgrades so much? What difference does that make on a watch? Having reviewed so many Apple Watches, I can say confidently that the faster CPU makes so little difference once you get past the S4 chip. Like, what is so slow with the S6 and S7 processor that you're hoping will get faster? I don't think if you're saying that any Apple Watch that doesn't get a new CPU is not a big upgrade, you're going to be very bored for the next 10 years of Apple Watches, because I think CPU-wise it's going to be mostly the same here on out. It might get slightly faster here and there, but it's not going to change much. M2 to M1 architectural differences remind me of PPC 603 versus 601 differences. Okay. I don't know what that means, but I believe you. Do you think Apple will ever in our lifetime make a watch or fridge? I love my Samsung appliances, but if Apple made one, it would blow the competition. It would be like $10,000. Yeah, no. It's probably just not a market they see much potential in, so I doubt they ever will, but I wish the Series 8 had a front-facing camera. I think you do. I don't think you would actually want it if you had it. It's like the idea of it sounds better than it really is. First of all, front-facing camera would take up a crap ton of space on a watch. Notch isn't too bad on a phone, an iPad, or a laptop. But when you're working on a display this small and you cram a camera in there, oh my God, it's so ugly. And watch faces would all have to work around that camera. It would be horrid for the operating system. Secondly, it would not be a very good camera because it has to be stuffed onto a watch. It's not going to have the same computational capability of an iPhone camera or the sensor size because the device itself is so small. So it's not going to have good lighting capability. It's not going to be a large megapixel count. Then it's a bad camera, and it's also a horrible angle. The angle a camera can get from your wrist is really, really bad. I've tried many times. Just take out your phone, put it on the front-facing camera, and point it, leave it on your wrist and point it up at you. It's not a flattering angle, and it's also uncomfortable to do FaceTime calls. And if you're trying to take a selfie, you can't get the arm at a good angle from very far away from you. Like, it would be a terrible way to FaceTime because it would eat your battery life in an hour, and it would make your arm uncomfortable after just a few minutes of use. It would not be a good camera. It would not be good for selfies. It would not be good for what's going on around you, because you'd have to hold it out like this and try to take pictures. So I think there's people that think they want a camera, but if they actually experienced what it would be like, they wouldn't use it and they wouldn't find it helpful. The Series 4 Apple Watch chip doesn't handle LumaFusion. Oh, I can't edit videos on my watch. I don't think it makes a difference other than the amount of updates over the years. Just don't think it was as big a jump compared to the other years, but still got the same +1 to the number. I don't understand how anyone could say the Series 6 was a big upgrade, but the Series 7 wasn't. Like, the number of times, the amount of use people get out of a blood oxygen level sensor versus a larger display. Everyone benefits from a larger display. Blood oxygen is a certain specific market of Apple Watch, and always on display, that maybe helps more people, but like, a bigger display is helpful to anyone using the watch. You can get more information, you can see it better, you can see it clearer. If a display size increase is not a major upgrade, I don't know what is. That doesn't make sense to me. What made you want to start your channel? I was watching tech channels, and I had a lot of opinions and disagreements with what people were talking about. And I was like, I have opinions on this subject, or people were bashing Apple on something, or people were disagreeing with Apple. And I was like, no, I think they made the right call. I think this was the right decision. So I wanted to get my opinions out there and let people know how I felt about it. And then it took a few years before anyone started watching the videos, but once they started coming, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Because I can talk about tech for a long time. That's why I'm here. I don't think 6 was a big upgrade either. What is a big upgrade if the 7 isn't, is my point. If the 6 isn't big and the 5 isn't big, I wouldn't say the 3 was big. They added Cellular, which most people don't use. It's like, who cares? If the 7 isn't a big upgrade, then I don't think big Apple Watch upgrades exist, other than maybe the Series 4. But I would say the biggest reason the Series 4 was a major upgrade was the display increase and the ECG. But again, that's not helpful to everyone because that wasn't even available in all markets. Bigger display, that's helpful to anybody. But a watch with a newer chip will get more software updates. It is a newer chip. It just didn't get upgraded. It doesn't mean the Series 7 gets discontinued sooner. Guys, they're still updating the Series 3. Why are we worried about software support? 2 and 4? What did they change with 2? It's the exact same size display, exact same health sensor. The display got a little brighter and it became water resistant. It's like, yeah. That's what, there's always like 1 or 2 changes with the Apple Watch year over year. Why would a flat sides be a big upgrade? I don't get it. Oh, wow. I can really use my Apple Watch now that it's thicker and cuts into my wrist more. Like, how is that an upgrade? I don't think 6 was big. S6 has better efficiency thanks to its 7nm processor. I just feel like when the Series 6 came out, they bragged about better performance, and I recall several YouTubers saying, it's a watch, who cares about performance? And then when they don't upgrade the performance, everyone's like, well, it's not a big upgrade. They didn't update the chip. It's like, Series 2 got GPS, I guess. That's somewhat helpful. But I just mean, Apple Watch upgrades in general are not going to be major iPhone level upgrades. It's always going to be 1 or 2 big things. To me, 7 is as big as an Apple Watch update gets. Yeah, water resistance is a big deal, but the first generation wasn't not water resistant. It just didn't have an IP rating. You could still get the first generation wet. Let's see. Thank you for joining YouTube. I feel like you started the wave of Apple YouTubers before it used to just be all Apple 8 Androids. That's not true. I didn't start that trend, but I'm grateful. Are you happy you switched platforms? Yeah. No, I mean, there's still a lot of things I prefer about Twitch on the creator side. It's still very frustrating. All of the button, like seriously, the amount of setup it requires to do a YouTube live stream is so annoying. Like you have to schedule the stream and you have to title it this and then you got to add a thumbnail and then you got to check these boxes and you have to specifically tell YouTube every time you upload a video, every time you go live, you have to check like 5 boxes and go through all these settings just to say, yes, I want this monetized. Like, yes, I want people to be able to super chat. And you can't save those settings. You can't just say, like, can we reuse these settings for the next stream? It's like, no, you have to check all these boxes all over again. You can save the title and thumbnail, which is the one thing that you really shouldn't be saving because most people need to change the title and thumbnail every time. So they let you save that, but they don't let you save, like, hey, this video is monetizable, yes. Like, I own the content in the video, yes. Yes, I would like it monetized. No, it's not for kids. No, it does not have children in it. They ask you to fill all this forms out every single time. And that's so annoying. But yes, the viewership on YouTube is much higher. The generosity is much better. You guys are willing to super chat, and there's so many new channel members now compared to Twitch. Like, obviously, it's been better overall for the business side of things. And I do appreciate more of the viewer features. Like on Twitch, you couldn't rewind. On YouTube, if someone joins the stream late, they can scroll to the beginning and then play it at 2x speed, and then they'll catch up to the live part, and then it obviously cuts back to normal. So that's kind of nice if someone joins the stream later and they want to see what the beginning of the stream was about. Twitch didn't have that, but I just thought that the tools in the process of going live for Twitch were so much simpler. Seriously, it took like 3 buttons. It was so fast for me to just be like, okay, time to go live. Boom, let's stream. On YouTube, it's like, check this, scroll through this, edit this, and to replace this, and tag this, and there's so many buttons every single time. Yeah, 0 and 1 were splash resistant, but so it's an improvement, but let's see. I don't know why people say the Apple Watch transfer is so hard. I just open the app and press transfer. When did it become so much easier? I've had issues where it like was supposed to be simple, but then ended up being more complicated. So I guess I can kind of understand that. Just make a bot to set your settings or pay someone for a bot. Oh yeah, that's easy. It's like telling a homeless person, just buy a house. Are you hungry? Go buy food. It's like, okay, great. Just learn how to code and make a bot that does everything for you. Great. I'm tired of driving. Let me also build a robot that can drive for me. That sounds simple. I can do it better than Tesla can, right? Ever have a problem? Just make a bot that fixes it. They're probably looking at the usage data and noticing that makes them more money. Makes sense if they can make you set everything manually with each upload. I don't buy it. I still think there's a bunch of stuff that they could skip. I don't think I should have to disclose that my video is suitable for all advertisers every single time. Now it's gotten worse. They make me disclose that I don't have a paid sponsorship in every video. I used to be able to just leave it selected to no, and it would be the upload default for every video. But now they don't let me save that as a default. So every time I upload a video, every time I go live, it's like, does this include a paid promotion? And I have to click no, or else it won't let me get to the next step. It's like, come on, let's go. Yeah, I probably wouldn't use a fan-made bot. I'd be worried it would take over the channel and lock me out or something. Let's see. I love my AirPods Pro, but I don't know why it won't update it. I love to watch Zolotech, and I try to update my AirPods Pro. Nothing. Yeah, firmware updating AirPods is already fairly complicated. I don't understand why it's so intricate. I agree. I think it was 9 to 5 Mac or someone wrote an article about this, but they were like, AirPods are complicated enough. They deserve their own app. There should be an AirPods app where you can control all of this stuff. Like, I would love to be able to manage battery health settings from an app, control presets on what the force stems do in the different apps. Maybe even have a way to tinker your EQ and your transparency mode from an app, and of course the firmware updates. If you wanted to go in there and just say like update my AirPods to the latest firmware, like yeah, there should be an AirPods app that downloads if you set up a pair of AirPods. Oh, thank God. My business will be worth $678 billion. Awesome. Making a self-driving car is easy. If going to crash, don't. There you go. I wonder what will happen with all those unused Twitch peanuts. Yeah, that's a good question. I actually got paid by Twitch the other day, which was weird because I haven't been live on Twitch. I haven't used Twitch at all in the past 4 or 5 months. And I guess there are still people either donating or there's still people over on Twitch subscribing with Twitch Prime. And for the sake of my taxes, I might even have to shut that off. I didn't think there would be people doing it, but I guess there's still people doing it. So whoever you are, I don't know who's doing it, but whoever's still supporting me on Twitch, thank you. It's very generous of you, but I need to simplify my income streams so we don't have these crazy tax documents to all deal with at the start of each year. So thank you if you're still doing it. But yeah, I was very surprised. I just opened my banking app and there was a check from Twitch in there. I was like, why is Twitch? That was weird. I don't plan on reviewing the new Google Pixel. It seems as if you loved reviewing Google units until they actually made a good device. No, I didn't mind. I reviewed I reviewed 2 Pixels I really liked. I liked the 3A, and I did a video on that and recommended it to people, and then I reviewed the 4A and I really liked. But the reason I took a break, I just said at the beginning of 2021, I'm going to take a break from Android phones because I had reviewed basically every kind of Android that had came out. I reviewed the Flip, I reviewed the Fold, I reviewed a lower priced Pixel, I reviewed a high priced Galaxy S20 Ultra, I reviewed the mid-range OnePlus 8, and between all of those different reviews I did of Android phones, all of them had very similar reactions from the audience, which is all mostly, yeah, we get it, you're an Apple sheep, so we don't really care what you think. And I was like, look, I'm not like enjoying switching my SIM over, breaking all my iMessage contacts and ruining the continuity between my ecosystem. The only reason I'm reviewing these Android phones is for the channel, is for you guys. And if the audience isn't interested in that, and the audience doesn't take much pleasure in my Android reviews, and they would rather me just talk about Apple, then fine, no problem. I thought reviewing Androids would just be a fun way of mixing things up a bit, but because I had basically done a review of every kind of Android, and so many Androids have felt the same these days, I'm like, I don't think reviewing it is going to change anything. I'm not going to have an opinion or perspective. Sorry. Let's see if it fixes itself. There we go. It's not Starlink this time. We're live via Mint Mobile, so occasionally Mint Mobile even has hiccups. But yeah, I reviewed a bunch of Android phones of all kinds, and at the end of the day, people just were like, "Yeah, who cares what Drew thinks?" So I was like, "All right, I'm not gonna keep doing this because it's kind of a big headache on my end. So if people don't enjoy it, why bother?" So I just said no more Android phones for a while, and because I don't think the videos, they don't perform that well, and the audience isn't that interested. So I'm not saying I'll never review Android phones again. I just wanted to take a break. I needed a pause because all the Android phones I reviewed all started blurring together, and I feel like all the Android phones that have come out in 2021 aren't that different from 2020 anyway. So there's not that much new information for me to review. Like, well, this one has a higher refresh rate display. Well, this one has a slightly larger battery. It's like, if I review an Android again, I want to do something different. I don't want to give it like 2 weeks of use and then that's it. And then I go back to my iPhone. Like, if I review an Android again, I want to really get to know it, and I want to review it for longer than a couple weeks. I want to give it like a full ownership experience so that I can fully immerse myself in the Android ecosystem a little bit and step out of the walled garden and explore. But obviously, I love my ecosystem and I love the way it's working currently. So I just want to hold on to this for a while, and I just want to enjoy the way it is because I'm happy the way it is. As much as I complain about iPads, I still love it. I still love my iPad. I still use it every day. I still love my MacBook. I love my iPhone and my watch. I love how they all work together. I love AirPods and how they communicate, and I love my Apple Pencil. So everything's great the way it is. Maybe in a few years I'll get bored because honestly, I don't plan on upgrading any of my Apple products right now. I plan on keeping my iPad for many more years. I plan on keeping the MacBook Pro for at least 5 years, probably more. And I also am I feel like I've reached peak iPhone for the most part. There's minor things they could change, but I don't see a need in upgrading my iPhone at this point anytime soon. I don't plan on keeping the 14. I'll review all the new Apple products, but I don't plan on keeping much. And my watch, I plan on keeping for a while. So maybe if a few years go by and I get bored and I'm kind of just tired and I want to mix it up and try something new, then I kind of want to wait to see if Google makes their own watch. They've been talking about it for years. Everyone keeps saying, "Yeah, there's a Pixel watch coming. So wait, just wait. They got a Pixel watch in the works," and then it doesn't happen. But I would like get an Android watch and an Android phone and, try an ecosystem experience for a few months to really get into the review side of things. Um, you should have a movie review channel. You should look to see if there's a movie review channel. If you did, you would find Tailosive movie reviews, where we reviewed all the most recent Spider-Man films over the past 2 decades. Instead of you spamming the same question over and over again, why don't you just do a little research? You could find all my movie reviews. And yes, we'll review No Way Home. Stay tuned. Apple needs to create an equalizer app for the AirPods. I still don't like the quality of the bass when doing some serious listening to music. Well, yeah, there are equalizers in iOS. They're just not in an AirPods app, but yeah. You have the opposite opinion of a lot of Apple YouTubers that say the iPhone has gotten boring, and I see more switching to Android. I don't see many people switching to Android. I've actually talked to 4 people in my personal life recently that all have had Androids that are now moving to iOS for some reason. Whether it's because they want the ecosystem or they want the compatibility with another Apple product, or there was one guy I knew that was on Android and then he bought a car that only supported CarPlay. So he bought an iPhone because he didn't really care which phone he had. But I don't know that many people that are switching to Android right now. Um, I enjoy your Android reviews. I think Pixel 6 Pro reviews with the rumored Pixel Watch, if it comes out, review from you would be very interesting. I just don't want to do another let me switch to this Android phone for 2 weeks and then I'll go back to iPhone, because I think that's too surface level, and I want to get to know Android a lot better. I want to give it an honest try and see if I really throw myself into the outside of Apple's garden, will I find something I like and will I appreciate it, I don't know. I maybe if I try being in an Android ecosystem for a bit longer, I'll start to become more comfortable with it and I'll start to find things I like. Or maybe even after a year of use, I'll still discover no, it's not that great, and I want to go back. So I want to give it a long-term shot. Um, I love Apple, but 2 things I can't get on board with is Apple Music / Spotify. I love YouTube Music. It happens to be free with premium. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't use Apple Music or. Oh, thank you, Ben. Wow, he super chatted. When I see the green bubble on iMessage, I get sad that there are people with Android. I'm not sad because I want, at the end of the day, I want people to buy what works well for them. I primarily, it's like Apple and iOS in this ecosystem works really well for me, and I can't find another series of devices that gets the job done better. So that's what I use. And if someone else has a different set of use cases, and for them, um, PC or Android is what gets the job done, and they can't do what they need on iOS, then good for them. Buy what you want. It's not about everybody buying the exact same thing. I think that would make the tech space fairly boring. If everyone had the exact same device with the exact same use, it's like I I have several friends and family members on Android that like it and don't want an iPhone, and I don't try to argue with them on that. And I think for the most part I've stayed pretty consistent with that on the channel. I mean, I've always argued that for me, iOS is better, and I prefer iPhones for this reason. But for the most part, I may do like little Apple sheep tangents here and there, but I don't recall ever saying, you know, unless I'm doing a joke or a bit, if I'm being sarcastic. But I don't like genuinely tell people not to buy any Android phone. I genuinely say if you're on a budget and you want a good display and a good camera, the Pixels are probably a better way to go. If you don't care about the Apple ecosystem, the Pixel 5a is a pretty good deal. But if you do care about the Apple ecosystem, yeah, obviously I do as well. I would not recommend an Android to people who want that ecosystem stuff. Good night, Mike. Have a good have a good night. Take care. Probably would have had you more before Apple had 120 hertz. Oh yeah, well that happened. I that happened several times. I had an iPhone with 60 hertz, and I kept reviewing Androids with 120 hertz, and I was like, "This looks so good! Oh my god, I want this on my iPhone." So it was hard. It was hard leaving Androids with 120 hertz, but at the end of the day, once I had iOS with 120 hertz, I was like, "Perfect, beautiful." Let's see. I feel like I'm the Western world. The most popular combo is an iPhone and PC. I feel like iPhone is definitely dominant in the mobile space, but then PC is dominant in the desktop space. So, yeah, it makes sense. Javen Evans says, I personally see way more people switching to iOS. I do too. I actually can't think of anyone recently I know of that's switched to Android from iOS. But yeah, like my the dental hygienist that gave me a cleaning was asking me what iPhone they should get, and they were switching from a Pixel 2. My wife's friend, who we got lunch with a few months ago, had a Pixel 5, and I was like, "How do you like that phone?" And she was like, "It's okay, but I need an iPhone." And I was like, "Why do you want an iPhone?" She was like, "FaceTime." It's like the simplest of things. Um, and then yeah, there's the guy I talked to that got a iPhone just because he wanted CarPlay, and his car that he bought didn't support Android Auto. I would only recommend a Pixel because of the guaranteed regular updates if I recommend an Android. I just think Pixels take good cameras. Like, they take good pictures. And I like that the software and the hardware are built by the same company. That's what I like about Apple. It's a shame that a lot of Pixel hardware has been very crappy. But yeah, I still appreciate the fact that it's one vision. I think I would still prefer a Pixel just because you don't have to worry about Samsung and Google fighting over your phone, where OnePlus or whatever is, or Samsung is trying to put their apps on the software and Google's trying to put their apps on the software. Instead, you just have one account, one password, minimize all that complexity. FaceTime is on Android, but it's kind of clunky. It doesn't work the same way. She wants the simplicity of just you you open an app, you sign in with one account, and then you're done. And you can just text people and hit the one button and you're FaceTiming instead of like sending links to people and answering it through the web and all that. It's amazing the Pixel 5a won the MKB HD camera test, and it shows how much Apple takes so much money from us. I would not. I think Marquez said that in his video as well. I would not put the blind camera test as an example as what is the best camera. The time and time again, I think he went into detail about that in the video. He was like, everyone pretty much just votes for the brighter image, and brighter doesn't mean better. Like, all the cameras that he reviewed were basically fine, other than like a few, the Surface Duo is kind of crappy. But for the most part, all of the major phones, whether or not it's kind of ridiculous to act like one photo is better than the other just because it's slightly more contrasty or slightly brighter than the other. Like, there's very, very small differences. That's like that's just a matter of personal taste. And just because there's more people that like, it'd be like having a poll and asking like, what's your favorite color, and whatever the top result is like, okay, that's the best color. It's like, no, that's just what a lot of people happen to prefer. That doesn't mean it's better than the rest. But frankly, I found the differences between all the cameras so incredibly small, to the everyday person, they're not going to notice or care about little shading differences or little contrast differences like that. I'm like, you should not base any smartphone decision off of that small a detail in camera performance. Also, I think there's so much more to cameras than just their regular sensor photo performance. There's video performance, there's lens performance, there's how good is the ultra wide, how good is the low light, how good is the telephoto. Whereas the blind camera test is all just about the one standard lens taking up normal picture with some people in it. That's one example that you're isolating from all these different models. How easy it is to use the camera, how simple the point is, it might not. I think all smartphone cameras have gotten so decent. It's a stupid to act like one is better than the other. Some people like cool displays, some people like warm. Exactly. It's not like cool displays are better than warm displays. Um, Michael says, "Don't step outside the garden. It's not worth it." So far, every time I've stepped out of the garden, I've been disappointed and come right back in. So it's fairly likely if I did review an Android long term, I would just come right back. But I want to give it an honest try eventually. I want to find a phone, not a crappy phone. I want to find a phone that I think I could enjoy, and I think there might be some advantages to using over an iPhone, and like USB-C, and then just kind of dive into it and use it for a while and see if I can get completely comfortable with it. I think you should do one Android review for 2022, and that should be the Pixel 6. I think it's the most iPhone-like in quality. I don't know. I feel like I just got my 13 Pro Max, and I really like it, and I want to just keep using it. So, I don't know. Maybe 2023 I'll be more tired of it. Good night, Alexander. Have a good stream. Professional photographers are who you should ask. No, I don't even think their opinion matters. I've had conversations and debates with photographers. I used to do freelance video work, so I was at weddings or business events alongside other professionals, and there were certain times they made decisions that I don't think were good. You can still have a lot of subjective opinions in the professional world, where certain professionals think a certain type of picture looks good, and they think wide angle is better, and some think telephoto is better, depending on what you're taking shots of and how close you should get and how heavy the bokeh should be and how narrow the depth of field should be. So even that's subjective. I wouldn't say let professional photographers decide what the best camera is. It's like they're all smartphone cameras at this point are good enough to the point of if you're taking a picture with your phone, it's fine. It's not like if you're caring about these types of details, you're not you shouldn't be taking a picture with the phone anyway. If you're taking a picture with the phone, it's like, oh, click, post, okay, got it. I can see who is in the picture. I can see that it is a pretty sunset. It gets the job done. I'm definitely a Samsung camera guy. Despite owning iPhone, I like Samsung's very contrasty photos, and I find myself color editing. Well, that's what photo styles have been good for. I think Apple was smart to introduce that, because if you think an iPhone photo is not contrasty enough or not cool enough or warm enough, then you can go into photographic styles and change the actual algorithm of how the picture is taken. Androids are so dull, it's hard to get excited about them. Well, that's how I feel, but I'm a big Apple guy. I don't think that's an exclusive to Android problem. I think that's a general smartphone problem. Like, all of them are getting very similar, and all of them are kind of starting to blur together, which is why I'm focusing more on EVs these days. Let's see. I'm not saying keep it. I'm just saying give it a couple weeks and then return it. No, I don't want to do a short-term review. I've done those. I want to do like update vlogs, like here's my update 1 month later after switching to Android, 2 months later, 3 months later, giving more and more experience improvements. Only thing iOS has on Android for me personally is video quality is a bit better on Apple, and battery life on 13 Pro Max seems very promising. I don't think those are the only things, but yeah, those are two very strong things. Video has always been much better on the iPhone, which matters to me, as I take a lot of videos with my iPhone, whereas cameras, I've never noticed people caring. As long as you have a recent generation phone and you take a picture, everyone's going to go, wow, yeah, it looks great. It's not like one is like, ooh, that's gross. And one is like, wow, it's beautiful. It's all the new phones do the same crap. They all have portrait mode. They all have night mode. They all can zoom in. They all got an ultra wide. They all got crappy algorithms that denoise the images and stuff. It's fine. They're all fine. So it gets old to me, everybody comparing them. It's like, it's always the same thing every year. It gets very stale. Just year after year, people are like, see, this one is a little bit more contrasty, and this one has a little bit more blue out of that sky. It's like, do people care? I guess people care. Is there any Android phones as of now that have caught your attention? The Oppo Find N. I thought that was cool. It's not available where I live, so I'm not going to be able to review it. But as far as like new folding phones go, I was like, hey, that's the way to do it. You got the solid aspect ratio. You've got the smaller form factor, and they got a pretty low price point. So I was like, yeah, that's cool. That's neat. But yeah, Pixel 6 kind of underwhelming. The performance of the tensor chip is not very good, but I guess their emphasis with it was no, it's not about the speed or the efficiency. The tensor chip is about neural net and the algorithm and being really good at erasing things in post. And I was like, yeah, I don't think people are gonna do that. It's technically cool. I get why the tech community freaks out when we're like, hey, I can erase this sign from a picture. It's like, whoa, it did it really well. But how many people are gonna do that? Most people, like Marquez brought up in his own blind camera test video, were like, you pull out your phone, you take the picture, you don't even tap to focus, and then you post it. You don't go like, let me edit this, let me erase this little thing, or let me fix this little thing, or let me make sure this face stays in focus by stitching the ultra wide picture onto the standard lens picture. It's like, the battery life matters, I think, far more than all those little algorithm things. So the tensor chip is a bit underwhelming to me. Design is okay. I still don't like displays on phones that curve off to the edge. That's like, come on, just get on the flat screen trend. Come on. If you have an iPhone more recent than a 4, I think you should be happy with your camera. Honestly, when they do those review videos of like original iPhone versus newest iPhone, everyone's always surprised by how good the original iPhone camera is. Which is to basically say at the end of the day that the cameras on phones have all been pretty decent. It's not like they used to be that bad anyway, at least in the smartphone world. I'm sure flip cameras were like unusable, but um, let's see. Problem on Android is the sharing experience for pictures or videos with other people. Most people here use WhatsApp for this, which decrease the quality a lot. That's the other thing is so much of this detail we all focus on is all compressed and lost in translation. And in my view, all of the differences between a Galaxy phone or a Pixel and an iPhone are all so semantical. They're also minor that at the end of the day, what makes a far bigger difference in day-to-day use is how this device works with other devices, how it incorporates within your ecosystem. To me, that's far more noticeable. How this phone works with my computer, how it works with my iPad, how it works with my watch. That's something I can notice and appreciate on the daily. Whereas, this one lets me put apps at the bottom and this one doesn't, and this camera gets slightly more pixelated when zoomed in than this camera. It's like, I don't care about all that. To me, that doesn't matter so much. Yeah, I know they have their own version of it, but most people don't know about it, I feel like. Uh, let's see. It's about drive. It's about power. I'm always editing. My cousin and I are Snapchat animators. It's the iPhone that got us into being creative. That's cool. Snapchat animators. How fancy. Not all phones support nearby share or RCS, and most people don't even use it. I was going to say, I've never seen someone on Android use that. I've been told that they have their own version of AirDrop, but I don't see people using it. So, oh well. I guess that's life. The first AirPods was in 2007. What? How? Split screen on phone, yay or nay? Oh hey, Divot. I'm pretty sure he keeps canceling and resubscribing, but I'm pretty sure I get paid every time he does that. So thank you, Divot, for becoming a member. That was nice of you. I've not done split view on a phone and liked it yet. I've tried it on a big screen. I tried it on a 6.9-inch Galaxy phone, and I still felt like it was crammed. I don't think it's necessarily about the size, it's about the aspect ratio. Like tall aspect ratios, I don't think are good at split screen. Like having a square app down here and a square app up here is like, Every time the keyboard pops up, it breaks everything, and you can hardly see, and the app feels so squished, you can't really read that much information. I've read people that do it all the time. I keep seeing that. People are like, oh, yeah, I do split screen every day. It's like, I just haven't found a layout that I like. It still, to me, feels much easier to just swipe between the apps with the little home bar. I'll use this app and then I'll use this app, and I can just switch between the apps easily and have them in full screen rather than two half screen apps. Just feels really closed down. Drill would need to do a year-long test with a Chromebook, Pixel Watch, and Pixel Phone and Google Buds. That's true. Is it? I've used Nearby Share on Android once, and that was pictured to my mom in the same room. Okay. I think NFTs are stupid. So no, I'm not gonna be making any NFTs anytime soon. I never used split screen on my old Note series phones. I feel like it's not for me. I've never seen someone in person use split screen. I've only read about people that like split screen. It's my 6-month membership. It requires manual renewal. Can you tell me more about moderator access? Oh, I guess I haven't announced that. Well, someone was asking, and YouTube was pushing me for the record, in the YouTube membership tab. They were like, make another membership tier. And I was like, I don't know what to have. So people were saying you should have a membership tier higher than supporter. So I made a membership tier that's far more expensive. I think it's $20 a month. But if you sign up for it, then I will add you as a moderator to the chat. However, if you abuse your moderator privileges, I can still remove your moderator role. It's not like a hardwire thing. Like as long as you're paying for it, you're reserved as a moderator. So it's not. I intentionally set the price high. I don't think it's a reasonable price. It was just YouTube just kept saying, make another tier, and people were asking for another one. So I was like, okay, fine, here's one. But I don't expect anyone to do it. Let's see. Apple came out with a headset for the original iPhone with a stand, and when the iPhone was on the charger in the pod, it would show the battery. It would also show the menu bar. What was it called? Headset for the original iPhone with stand? I don't remember this at all. What was it called? That would be an easier way for me to look it up. If you had a term for it, that would be better. I never use split screen on my... Oh, sorry, I read that. Android is inherently insecure. I am shocked by the amount of privileges it gives to apps. Again, I still think digital privacy is mostly a myth, but yeah, I am mostly annoyed by how much Android just lets any app give you as many notifications as they want. I like how on iOS it typically asks you, do you want this app to send you notifications? And I usually say no. And on Android, at least in my experience with Android, maybe it's changed, I would just get the app and it would instantly just have access to all my notifications. It was a black AirPod. It was Bluetooth. Did they call it that, though? Did they actually call it an AirPod? Let me look it up. Black AirPod 2007. Oh, I see what you're saying. The headset. Yeah, okay, never mind. I have seen this. It was like a little earpiece for your iPhone. Yeah, it wasn't called AirPod. It was called iPhone Bluetooth headset. And it had a little battery in it, by the looks of it. And it would charge... Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. So you said headset, and I pictured like the AR goggles thing. I was like, what do you mean like a whole headset? Yeah. No, you could dock it with your iPhone because, Apple may have thought it was similar to an AirPod, except it only went in one ear. There was only one of them. On Twitch, the split is 50-50, while on YouTube it's 60-40. Would you live stream on Facebook? Isn't taking a cut. I don't know if that's true. On YouTube, I believe the split for memberships is 70-30, and then ad revenue is 45-55. But thanks to people like Dylan Flynn for super chatting so much and all the people donating, even with the higher cuts of YouTube, I make more on here than I do on Twitch, just because people didn't donate as much. But thank you, Dylan. Appreciate it. The Note 7 was bomb, yeah. What do you think will happen to the iPod Touch? I think it will be either updated or killed in 2022. I say it every year. Every year I keep saying it, and I'm like, maybe this year, maybe this year. I'm hoping next year this could be it. Just turn the notifications off. Android isn't that hard. I like being able to get apps not on the Play Store. Thank goodness. Okay. If you enjoy them so much, I'm happy for you. I'm just saying I don't want to have to go in manually. There were so many notifications that kept popping up on Android. And I feel like when I use Android, I'm constantly having to fix it. I'm constantly having to readjust everything. And I feel like when I use iOS, it's just already the way I need it to be. So I don't have to spend much time tinkering with settings and adjusting things. It just works. That's what I'm comfortable with. Quickly run. What animations do I need to run? What are you talking about? Did we talk about animations earlier? Let's see. Yeah, I think they're stupid. It's still supported in newer versions of iOS. What? The Bluetooth thing is still supported? That's crazy. Renee Ritchie took away your Appleseed title. He actually praised Steve Jobs. How do you know I don't pray to Steve Jobs? Come on. Let's see his altar. I bet I could one up his altar. The Note 7 was my first Android phone. That was a good one to start on. Well, this has been fun. I've been live for over 2 hours now. Sheesh. Well, it's fun to do these late night streams on occasion, but I got to get going. But stay tuned for more. We should have a pretty fun PC building stream soon. So stay tuned for that. I know it doesn't go along with the Apple sheep tradition, but my friend's building a PC, so we're gonna probably stream it soon. And of course, more videos still to come. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for your memberships and your super chats. Hope you have an excellent night or morning wherever you are. Take care, all. Bye bye.